This is Lori Grenier. You've seen me on Shark Tank hearing pitches from small businesses. Now, there's a new way for small businesses to get a loan in minutes. It's called Cabbage. That's Cabbage with a K. Just fill out the application online. You'll get an instant decision and could have access to a line of credit of up to $100,000. No waiting, no hassle. Cabbage is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau and is a Forbes Top 100 company. Go to Cabbage.com, that's Cabbage with a K, Kabbage, or call 888-CABBAGE.
The Pirates and Cardinals have the best two records in baseball, and they go head-to-head one final time this regular season. Could this be a preview of next week's division series? Coverage begins Wednesday at 6:30 Eastern on ESPN Radio. Welcome to Mike and Mike's Football Friday.
In 39 seasons before Peyton and Breeze, the Saints made the playoffs 5 times. They've made the playoffs 5 times with those two guys. They are the best thing that ever happened to football in New Orleans, but that doesn't mean eventually it doesn't come to an end.
Football Friday.
Players are preparing. They don't have time to worry about who's at quarterback or not.
John Clayton mowing through calls.
Can the Jets make it to the AFC Championship game?
No, absolutely not.
Rob Lowe. You know, that was you. That was your gig. You were the only one doing it. Now everyone is doing it. What do you think when you see those guys doing your old spot?
Yeah, see? Think it's easy, don't you? Yeah, right?
It's Football Friday on Mike and Mike on ESPN Radio and ESPN2.
Mike and Mike presented by Progressive Insurance. Our guest on the Subway Fresh Take Hotline. A lot of star power today. The Hall of Famer Cris Carter in our studio talking football with us. That was Rob Lowe, who you heard making his picks earlier this morning, the celebrity picks. And last night, Week 3 kicked off as the Giants knocked off the Skins at home in a game that wasn't as close as the final score would indicate. And a man who was part of the action last night, 11 carries last night, caught 3 more passes for 25 yards as the Giants got their first win of the season, is live with us. Rashad Jennings is on Mike and Mike with Mike, and Cris Carter. Good morning, Rashad. Congratulations.
Hey, good morning. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you. You know, I know teams, generally speaking, hate playing the Thursday game. It throws off the schedule and everything. But considering the way your first 2 weeks had gone, the difficulty of the losses and all of the sort of negativity around you guys, do you think it worked to your advantage that you had a short week this week?
There's no question it did. You know, when you start off the season 0-2 and, you know, you just got that sick taste in your mouth, especially when you walk back in the locker room every single game feeling that, you know, it was because of ourselves. You know, you can't wait to get back out and outperform. And it was a game in the division. It counted twice against a good opponent, so it felt good to get that win.
So you start out the scoring with the safety off the block punt, and you certainly, you know, work on blocking punts all the time, whether it's an outside move, inside move, whatever. Do you work on a lot of times blocking a punt with the person that's blocking you? I mean, could you have taken him any further back into the punt at all in that?
Yeah, that's something I practice a lot, actually. I remember, you know, dating back to my rookie year, coming in, a little snot-nosed rookie, not knowing too much anything, and backing up Maurice Jones-Drew. I told myself, if I want to make this team, I got to figure out something. So I learned a knack for blocking punts and how to protect the quarterback. So that's something I still carry with me.
Rashad, that's a great quality to have, especially for a starter. You don't see a lot of starters playing special teams. But my question is, there was penalties on both sides, so they had to re-kick again, and they also called roughing the kicker. Weren't you a little nervous after last week when you took that inside move that you might be called for roughing again? Because that was a great move you made.
Yeah, I did. I thought about it, but you know, my mindset is if it's 4th and 6 or more, I know that penalty is usually just going to be 5 yards. So that's just my mindset. And when they called it on both sides, I say, yeah, we got a shot to go at it one more time.
Well, great way to start off the game, and you guys obviously go on for the victory. But tell me this. So you get your first win. In the first 2 games, you're up 10 at some point in the fourth quarter, and you lose the first 2 games. In this one, going into the fourth quarter, it's 18-6, and then you make it 25-6, or into the fourth quarter, then you make it 25-6. What's the feeling on the sideline? Is there any, you know, trepidation or any, okay, we got it this time? Or what's the feeling knowing the 2 previous games you had lost double-digit leads?
You know, those 2 games were frustrating as a unit. You know, that's the way we work, the way we prepare, and to come out both of those games without a victory. You know, we took that to heart. And, obviously under the leadership of Coach Coughlin, that's not something that, he tolerates well. And so, through the fourth quarter, and everybody on the sideline, we all collectively put up our hand just to remind ourselves, this is something we got to finish. We've been here twice, and we got to find a way to come out with the victory. And as a unit, that's what we did. Obviously, I can speak for the team. I don't think we won the game how we wanted to win the game. There's still a lot of things to clean up. It's a long season. Feels good to get the win, but we still not there yet.
It's a rarity in the National Football League for a running back like yourself. You turned 30 this offseason, but it's also a rarity to have a player like Odell Beckham Jr. People ask me all the time. I watch a lot of tape, a lot of receivers. You as his teammate and seeing a lot of good receivers, what are the things that make him the player that he is?
He's special, man. I remember last year, his rookie year, and we was doing OTAs, and the way he caught a slant, a simple slant, I turned to Peyton Hillis and was like, hey, he's going to be special. But obviously everybody sees the flash, but behind the scenes, nobody sees how much of a competitor he truly is, the way he prepares for the game. And I remember, the thing that stood out to me, as you say, a 30-year-old vet, when he got injured last year, he came up to me and said, Rashad, I want you to teach me how to take care of my body. And for a young kid that has that much talent, that wants to be great, that works at it, and cares about his craft and taking care of his body, that's really what stood out. And, he's a competitor, man. When he's on the field, he wants to make a play, so that makes him special.
Love hearing that. The young players asking vets, that seemed to have gone away for a while, and I think still to a point it has. So that's great to hear. Rashad Jennings, running back of the Giants, joining us here. Mike and Mike CC joining us as well. So Tom Coughlin after the game tells the media, hey, everybody smile, we won. You guys got to win with a lead in the fourth quarter. You get the first win of the season. What was his message to you guys after the game after this win?
The message is that, we got to win against a good team. And, again, we're not there yet. Enjoy the victory with the long weekend, but, we got to turn around and get on this road and collect some more wins. And
speaking of a Thursday win, short week's always tough. How about those 10 days after, though? Pretty sweet, isn't it?
It's always nice. It is. You can smile for a second and get the body back right. So we're going to enjoy this weekend, watch some football, get our bodies back to 100, and continue down the stretch.
Regardless, Tom Coughlin, Eli Manning, Peyton Manning, even Archie Manning. Dog, you get the ball inside the 5-yard line. Score that thing, please. Score.
At least, for nothing else. Okay. If nothing else, at least for the people that have you on their fantasy team.
Yeah. But thanks for being with us, man. Thanks for having an attitude. It was a tough week for you, but glad to see you Giants get the win.
Hey, thanks for having me on, guys. Appreciate the time.
Thanks, Rashad.
Rashad Jennings of the New York Giants coming off a win last night. And, I like that. I saw the thing where they put the fingers up in the air last night, but I didn't realize that's what that was.
Has to. Because everybody knows it. It's the 800-pound elephant in the room. You have to recognize it and say, and to me, it's still a worry because even though they won that game, they gave up 15 points in the fourth quarter. So that's now 43 points in the fourth quarter in the first 3 games. So you're averaging over almost 15 points a game doing that. So you're not going to win all, on a consistent basis doing that.
And you're a little nervous because you've lost 2 leads.
Yeah.
Like, you think you're a good team, but when you lose games like that, it begins to snowball. So I didn't see them playing conservative. I think they can play better, but I think that getting the job done is paramount and getting that first victory.
One of the things I really love that what he said about Odell Beckham talking to him because I think we've lost that, CC. I know, listen, I was raised with the keep your mouth shut and your eyes and your ears open to learn something. Mm-hmm. And when I got in the league, talking to the guys that had been around and when I had a question or other than that, observing and learning and using those guys as teachers. Yeah. And I think we've lost that a bit. A lot of guys, because they're put on a pedestal so early, they come in saying, I got this. I'm good. I don't need the help. I'm not going to lie. That was so refreshing to hear that a young, great player still looking at a vet and asking questions.
I got a text from Odell at 7 o'clock last night before the game. because I had texted him earlier in the game because we're working on a couple things, a couple focus points, and he texted me, and I got up and looked and said, man, he's getting ready to go on the field. And to me, there's a great deal of respect because of the process it takes to be a pro and the respect, because he don't have to do that.
No.
I'm sitting here in my apartment. He texts me, and he texts me the answers to the questions I had for, we had kind of had a theme for this game. So not only Rashad, not only myself, but there's others that's what makes him different than a lot of the other guys that I've dealt with in the past.
There's just something special about the kid. I can't give you any better analysis than that, but there are just certain players that every once in a while, they just jump off the screen when you're watching them on television, and he has that. Mike and Mike is presented by Progressive Insurance. Customers who switch to Progressive save an average of $500. Call or click today. Find out if they could save you hundreds on your car insurance. We're going to do the Famer, the Former, and the Fan coming up here in a little while, and that'll take us through most of the big games coming up on the schedule this weekend. But something we touched on earlier, CC, and I would love to get your thought on it, is this weekend feels to me like it really could be a little bit the end of an era. When you look at where the Saints are right now at 0-2, you look at Breeze banged up, and depending on who you talk to, you'll get 8 million different stories on just how bad that injury actually is. They're going to Carolina. If they lose that game, they're 0-3, and the Panthers are 3-0. You're looking at a player in Drew Brees who has a $27 million cap hit next year. You're looking at the guys at 538.com did a look at dips in success that took place during Marino's years in Miami, during Elway's years in Denver, Ben Roethlisberger's years in Pittsburgh. They all happened when those quarterbacks were between 26 and 30. Now, Drew Brees, this dip began when he was 35. So it does feel a little bit like this era, and all of us are about the same age. I mean, the Saints were a joke. They were a joke of a franchise. Sean Payton and Drew Brees changed that. And because of Hurricane Katrina and everything else, in some ways they kind of became America's team. I think everyone sort of rooted for them because of what they signified. But everything comes to an end. And it feels to me from the outside like this is sort of coming to an end. Do you see it that way?
It happened. We saw what happened to Peyton Manning. So if we didn't believe Peyton Manning could leave Indianapolis, then what are we watching in New Orleans? Of course it could happen to Drew Brees. We saw it happen to Peyton Manning. It was a different injury and more significant, but eventually you're going to have to – if Tom Brady wasn't playing at such a high level, we'd be having the same conversation about him. The problem now is that the quarterbacks are in such better shape physically and what they can do with their bodies and their training of their bodies. Tom Brady at this age, he's not the normal age of a guy his age. Drew, the way he takes care of his body, but when you hurt your arm, and you're a quarterback, that's a total different story. But for me, I think it all started, after the penalties and after Sean Payton was suspended.
Bountygate.
Yeah, right. And then it's been a slow trickle. Drew Brees in the collective bargaining agreement, he had a little dissension with the organization then. Defensive coordinator was gone. Jimmy Graham's gone. You're starting to miss these. Pete Sproles was gone. That team is a totally different team than what Drew was used to playing and the style that I believe he's very, very successful in.
And they don't have a lot of maneuvering ability.
No.
With $30 million in dead money, and next year Drew's cap number is the highest cap hit of any individual player for any team. So we'll see where it goes. But injury is the key. As I've talked about, a sprained ankle for a wide receiver is much different than a sprained ankle for a D tackle. A shoulder injury for a quarterback is much different than a shoulder injury for a wide receiver. So it all depends on the position and what you do, and then for to be on the arm that he had operated on years ago.
Yes,
that's tough.
Actually, to illustrate the point you just made, Mike and Mike were presented by Progressive Insurance. Our guests on the Subway Fresh Take Hotline. I have a quick injury update before we get to that. Ashley Fox of our staff is reporting DeMarco Murray will play Sunday for the Eagles against the Jets. There'd been some question there with him with the injury. She is reporting he will play against the Jets.
Hamstring, so keep an eye on that.
I'm going to ask you both about that in a minute. But first, just when you said the thing about Brady playing at a high level and quarterbacks being in great shape, I just happened to see this as I was scrolling through on Twitter a minute ago. Tom Pelissero has a piece at USA Today. Is it possible that Tom Brady is actually just now in his prime? His numbers over his last 16 games, including playoffs, which of course includes a Super Bowl championship, his completion percentage is basically 67%, 4,700 yards, 44 touchdowns, and 11 interceptions. Those are his last 16 games, including playoffs. So there is zero drop-off. I mean, that's about as high a level as you can possibly get. So he is 38 years old. It says here Brady has passed his physical peak, but he was never winning with athletic ability anyway. He has avoided major injuries since blowing out a knee 7 years ago, plays in an offense that emphasizes a short passing game, limiting wear and tear on his arm, and his knowledge of how to read and manipulate defenses only increases with time. So it's an interesting piece suggesting that at an age where we're usually starting to look to who's the next guy going to be, Brady may actually not be that close to the end.
Brady's playing unbelievable. And also the system that they've worked out and the players that they've kept around him. They've been able to keep him upright, so he's not getting hit a lot. His options as far as mismatches on a weekly basis, I mean, they do such an unbelievable job. Tom is taking care of his body, and his body is in probably the best shape that he's ever been in. Now, someone asked me last week, comparing myself to older receivers, Andre Johnson and Larry Fitzgerald. I told him that the big difference between me when I was playing, I was 36, Andre's not 36, was I was always slow. So the game didn't change. It wasn't like all of a sudden I slowed down and guys were catching up. I was used to tight coverage because I couldn't get away from guys. But Tom now he don't have the hand problem or nerve problem that Peyton has. So he's just Peyton Manning continuing on into the postseason because Peyton Manning, the first 14 games of the season, 13 games of the season, unbelievable. But Tom doesn't have the weather problems, and he's just in great physical shape. So I wouldn't say that he's at his prime. He is in a system that his body, his mind, and the people around him is all working together right.
Completely agree. I don't think he's in his prime either.
Yes,
but I think
because that's impossible.
This is a team anyway that's death by 1,000 cuts. You know, that's how they do it. It's not like he's throwing, airing out, 10 balls a game where you need that unbelievable arm strength, which he doesn't have. I agree with you. I think the system is a perfect one for him, and he manages it incredibly well. He's a coach on the field, and it seems he'll be able to do this for a while.
Now, one thing that I have noticed, and I don't mention people talk about it, when you watch Brady throw, he's kind of changed his throwing motion, even with his arm, his off arm, his left arm. When he throws the ball, he keeps his left arm a lot of times. And I know he's working on someone because his arm is stronger than at any point that I've seen in his career. I mean, he gets on top of the ball and throws the ball through the wind. You see him step into the ball. When you watch the highlights, he's on top of that football, and that spiral is very, very tight. But his throwing motion, I got to talk to Trent Dilfer because he would probably be able to explain it.
You think it looks different? You think it looks like he's changed something up?
It looks totally different. And when he's warming up, he's practicing a different technique that I'm not familiar with, and it's definitely different than I've seen him the last couple of years.
Throws a great wind ball. There's no doubt about that, how his ball just cuts through the wind.
And they've always been very good in weather.
Yeah.
By the way, Brady and Breeze, whom we're discussing, are part of a very elite group. Listen to this list. Good note from Hembo. Here is the list of quarterbacks to throw for 50,000 yards and win at least 100 games in NFL history. John Elway, Dan Marino, Brett Favre, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Drew Brees. It's pretty good. And you're talking about the all-time elite right? Elway, Marino, Favre, Manning, Brady are on everybody's list of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. The only other person on that list with them right now in this is Breeze. Right? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, again, it's an old-time guys like Unitas and people like that. Put that in a different category because they were playing a different sport. But for Breeze to be in that group with those guys, sometimes I think it gets a little bit shortchanged.
It does get lost.
Let me ask you the significance with DeMarco Murray. How big a deal is that to you? Murray with the hamstring. There was a lot of question all week. Now Ashley Fox reporting he will play. How big a deal is that?
I mean, I just talked about injuries for positions. A hamstring for a running back is not very good. It's not the greatest thing in the world, but I'm trying to see. Show me something in the running game before I start worrying about whether DeMarco Murray is going to start getting 100 yards a game like he used to do. If I see him being able to actually get in space without it being a swing pass that gets him into space and he's hurdling over people and can open it up running the ball, I don't know if it really matters. I mean, obviously, if you can play as a running back with a hammy, that means your hammy is in pretty good shape. Because if you're nicked at all with a hammy as a running back, you're asking for trouble to try and go on that field and play with that thing still nicked a little bit. So it's got to be feeling pretty darn good, but there's way more questions than his hamstring about what's going on with this offense.
Okay, let's forget last season. Let's forget the 1,800 yards he rushed for last season. Let's look at all the years he had in college and all the years he had in Dallas. injury prone, a lot of different injuries. That was his, that was the mark against him, that he gets nicked. Now he's nicked in Philly. He gets injured, not in the game last Sunday, but he gets injured Wednesday in practice.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So you got 3 days to recover. So for me, I know the hamstring is not totally healed, but I'm more concerned about that offensive line, because with a hamstring, it's a lot easier to run straight than it is to run sideways. And the way Philadelphia has been running and trying to get on the edge, that hamstring and not being able to put a foot in the ground and turn up inside, I believe that will play a part in the game. Now, going into the game with a bad hamstring, given that he just got there as a free agent, had 2 disappointing games, I think as an athlete he might be forced, because I would. How's it feel, Doc? Oh, it's okay. I can play.
I want to play.
Oh, I'm going to tape it up. I'm going to do something. I'm going to play in this game based on the 21 rushes for 11 yards that I have. That right there is going to force me to play, given that this first year of free agency.
Up against a pretty stout defensive front in the Jets on this Sunday. Mike and Mike, MVP Play of the Week from baseball, brought to you by Sport Clips. You watch sports, we cut hair. It's perfect. Sport Clips. It's good to be a guy. We let Hembo choose our MVP Performer of the Week, and he gave it to Pirates outfielder Starling Marte, who has 15 hits, couple homers, and 8 ribs in his last 5 games, among them Wednesday when Pittsburgh clinched its 3rd consecutive postseason berth. All right, we'll do the Famer, the Former, and the Fan as we'll take you through the big questions about all of the big games on this weekend's NFL schedule. We'll do that next after a word from 1-800-Flowers. Mike, whether it's a birthday or anniversary or just because, there's always a reason to make someone smile. And when we want to brighten someone's day, we always count on 1-800-Flowers.com, where they're passionate about delivering fresh, beautiful flowers every time, guaranteed to make anyone smile.
Here's a great special. They're offering huge bouquet at an incredible price, perfect for fall, ready to send for any reason. Limited time, though, for our listeners and our viewers. 36 stunning autumn roses, $36. I think we can all figure out it's $1 a rose, and it's 45% savings to you. Remember, it's a special limited time offer from 1-800-Flowers, so you're going to want to jump on this right now. It's while supplies last. 36 roses, $36. Just go to 1-800-Flowers.com from your desktop or from your mobile device. Click on the radio microphone in the upper right corner and enter Mike. That's 1-800-Flowers.com and enter Mike, or call 1-800-Flowers and mention our first name. We're back after this on Mike and Mike.
ESPN Radio Sports Center.
With us on Mike and Mike, the Giants a winner last night, beating the Skins 32-21. Both teams now 1-2. D'Angelo Hall sprained a toe in the game. Will have an MRI for Washington. We had Rashad Jennings of the Giants on earlier this hour here. Odell Beckham caught a catch. Big win for Big Blue. And congratulations to the Royals and to their fans who celebrate their first division title in 30 years. They wrap up the Central for the first time since 1985. SportsCenter with Mike and Mike is brought to you by Dave & Buster's.
Dave & Buster's is the best place to catch all the football action for one more week only. Get all-you-can-eat wings, and a $10 game card for just $19.99 on Sunday and Monday, only at your football headquarters, Dave & Buster's.
You know, before we get to the Famer, the Former, and the Fan, I happened to glance up and see something Danny Cannell tweeted, and I wanted to get both of your perspective on this. And kudos to our colleague John Butchiegrass, who was the one that made me notice it when he was doing an extended highlight package on the game last night. There's a play yesterday where they call it a play action. They actually describe Kirk Cousins as having thrown 2 picks on play action last night. But backed up in his own territory, he fakes a handoff to no one. He goes back and fakes the handoff. The running back runs completely the other direction, and he turns around and just sort of feigns a handoff, but to no one. So Danny Cannell tweets, "I'm not defending Kirk Cousins, but ripping him for faking to no one doesn't make sense. His back bailed on the fake to pick up a blitz.
Yes.
Granted, a veteran quarterback probably would have recognized this and not gone through with the fake, but it's totally normal for Cousins to do what he did." I just would like to get you guys' perspective on that play.
That's a play, and that's why you have to have a player who breaks it down to know what the responsibilities are. When you watch a play and you see something you go wrong, you can initially say, well, this happened, but you have to know what's happening on the play, sometimes the intricacies of what's happening on the play, to know whose fault it is. Because a lot of times when you're watching on TV, oh, he was the closest one to him, so that must be his fault. When a lot of times it may not be his fault, didn't get help from where he was supposed to get help, or whatever the situation may be.
Yeah, and Bucci made a mistake, in looking at the tape. And what happens is it's a play action. But if I got 4 men protected on my right, I only got 3 on my left. If someone comes off my left, the back has him. Mm-hmm. So what the coach tells the back is abort the fake. Now, the quarterback, he's still pumping the ball because we got the blitz picked up. That's to give the run action for the safeties. So it all works together. I'm still play action. The back's going this way to pick up the high. This is to make the safety, so then once I drop back, I get the separation between the linebackers and the safeties, so the depth, so I have more reception room for the wide receivers to work. So it happens in the league, but as a former player, we know these things and we can see these things compared to doing highlights, at 11 o'clock. It's very hard for him to know.
To be clear, all Bucci said was fakes the handoff to no one. Right. He didn't say anything else about it. He just faked the handoff to no one.
At times it can actually be a mistake. Someone may turn the wrong way or the back may go the wrong way.
But when they blitz.
That can happen as well, but the back went to pick up the blitz.
And, by the way, he threw an interception on the play.
Yes, he did.
For what it's worth, he threw the ball right down the middle to a
Let me just say, safety didn't bite on the fake.
No. All right, let's do the famer, the former, and the fan.
Minutes to go in the quarter. Everyone has a perspective on something. We've got 3.
Still a little immature.
You would think I would be smarter, but I'm not.
People are going crazy on this. This is really, really surprising.
The famer, the former, and the fan.
I'm just happy to be part of it somehow. It's brought to you by the men's store at JCPenney, where you'll find modern looks from the new collection by Michael Strahan. Stan Zick put together a bunch of questions on many of the bigger games from this weekend. In fact, he worked so hard on it, he didn't show up today.
Yeah, how about that? He was so tired from it, he left.
Good.
He was exhausted from that and the golf match that he lost against Brooksy yesterday. And I know that Brooks and Peregrine were a team together, him and Bubba, but Brooksy just carried it.
Talk
Brooks
about
is a
an
stick.
anchor around your neck.
Yeah, Bubba made his first par ever the other day.
Yeah.
You think he wanted it to lead Sports
putt.
All right, let's get to the games. Here we go. And let's if we get the dad working here. There we go.
Falcons at Cowboys.
All right, Atlanta, Dallas. Brandon Weeden enters this game with 27 career touchdowns and 28 career interceptions. Guys, when this season is over, will he have thrown in his career more touchdown passes or more interceptions? Golic.
I think he'll throw more interceptions. I mean, he's going in as a backup. You're losing the weapon of Des Bryant. You have kind of a hobbled Jason Witten as well. I honestly think in a few weeks, Matt Castle will be the starter. Now, over the last few years, we know Whedon's been the lowest rated quarterback and Castle the 4th lowest rated, so it's not like you're jumping to remember this guy, Matt Castle, was beaten out by Tyrod Taylor. But so I'll say more interceptions, and I think down the road he gets replaced by Matt Castle.
CC.
I'm just going to go on hope. I hope he throws 2 more touchdowns than interceptions, at least get back to even. I believe it'll be more touchdowns than interceptions because they know what he can do. He's been in the offense a couple years. I believe Scott Linehan will protect him and that offensive line, all right, because where he starts to fall apart is when the protection falls apart.
Let me ask you, lose the music for 1 second. I want to dig in on this a little bit. No DeMarco Murray. Everyone talks all about that offensive line. Now, obviously, everything changes when you lose the starting quarterback and you lose the great outside player in Des Bryant. But do you think that team will still be able to run the ball, perhaps not quite as well as last year, but consistently and well to give the help to the inexperienced
I think it'll be
quarterback?
more difficult because we talked about the great line and rushing attack they had last year, but you also had Romo and Des Bryant on the field. So it's not like you could sell out to stop the runner. They're going to kill you at the pass. If I'm playing them right now, I have 14 in the box. I'm going to try and illegally have extra people on the field to say, if you're going to beat me, Brandon Weeden is the one that's going to beat me, throwing it to whoever he feels the need to throw it to.
It's just not even fair to make the comparison without those two. Right. Arguably, DeMarco was the best at his position. Dez is definitely in the top 2 or 3 at his position. So the way they have to balance the field now, they can't do it. I mean, they can't do it. And that's what helped Tony Romo out, too. And that's why Tony Romo was playing so well with Dez and DeMarco.
Mike and Mike, the famer, the former, and the fan. All right, give me my music back. Let's go to the next game.
Raiders at Browns.
Oakland and Cleveland. If you had to pick one first or second year quarterback to win a game for you right now, which would you pick? And let me give you the options. Derek Carr, Johnny Manziel, Teddy Bridgewater, Blake Bortles, Jameis Winston, Marcus Mariota. Those would be the notable players in their first or second year. I'm telling you, you need to win one game. CC, who you take?
I'm going with Teddy Bridgewater.
Me too.
I like the way he performs under pressure. The game's not too big for him. He's got a lot of help in Adrian, giving him the football, and their defense is underrated.
Completely agree. The poise, forgetting stats, the poise he showed last year and just the calmness and not letting the bright lights get to him, I would rely on him when the building's on fire a little bit, him still being under control.
Actually, let's lose the music again really quick because, CC, we haven't had a chance to have you since the decision was made in Cleveland to go back to McCown. Do you think that was the right call by Mike Pettin?
Well, obviously he had beaten him out in training camp, and you can't lose your job to injury, especially if the guy's not that good, depending on how good the guy is. But I think Johnny's made tremendous progress. I don't think he's ready to be the starter, and I think this is the best growth, or this is the best steps for him to grow as a quarterback, is put Josh back in there, because now we have one thing that Johnny never had. We have success, him being on the field. So, obviously, the plan is working, but we can't forget he missed those couple weeks of training camp, too.
So, on they go with McCown. Music
Yes.
back. Next game, Jaguars.
Jaguars at Patriots.
We were on, Mike, as we were doing a bunch of media this week. The guys in Jacksonville were all upset because they said that people were saying this was like New England's fifth preseason game.
Exactly.
Giving them no respect whatsoever. So, here's the question. It's about Tom Brady. In 2007, also known as the year of Spygate, Tom Brady threw for 4,800 yards and 50 touchdowns. In this, the year of Deflategate, he is on pace to throw for over 6,000 yards and 56 touchdowns. So the question is, will Tom Brady equal the numbers that he put up that year? 4,800 yards, 50 touchdowns, Golic.
No, I don't think he will. I think he's going to put up some great numbers, but there may be some games where they're going to do it differently, where you're going to have a 200-yard rusher, which we saw last year at one time with Jonas Gray. So because of the different ways they can do it, I'm going to say that's not going to happen. And while there'll be great stats, it's not going to be, 5,000 yards. It's not going to be 50 touchdowns.
CC,
I'm going to lean, not possibly making that number. There are going to be some games, but I like Belichick. They like throwing the ball to run it up now.
They do.
I think that they kind of got a feel for it. Now, I believe there's going to be 5 or 6 games. They're going to rush for 400 yards. You're going to be like, what the heck happened? He threw the ball 5 times. But won't reach those numbers. Won't reach those numbers like Golic.
That team had Randy Moss as their primary weapon. Yeah. This team has Gronkowski. Obviously extraordinarily different players, both incredibly effective. I argued that year Randy Moss should have been the MVP of the league, and I'm not sure that right now Gronkowski couldn't be the MVP of the league. We'll pause briefly. We'll come back. We have more games to go. We got Saints, Panthers, Eagles, Jets, Bears, Seahawks, Broncos, Lions, and more. The famer, the former, and the fan right after this word from La Quinta. Mike, when running backs fly through the defense like they were standing still, they call it kicking in the afterburner.
La Quinta Inns and Suites gives you that kind of speed with their free Wi-Fi network that's now up to 5 times faster than before. So business travelers, you're flying through presentations, downloads, and web conferences at the speed of La Quinta. Free Wi-Fi now up to 5 times faster than before. La Quinta takes care of you so you can take care of business faster. Book your next stay at LQ.com. Back after this on Mike and Mike.
Tired of overpriced razors? Join DollarShaveClub.com and get amazing razors delivered for a few bucks a month.
We got Forward Thinking, looking ahead to another big sports weekend. It's brought to you by Mahindra USA, the world's #1 selling tractor. What do we have for you? We got tons of baseball on ESPN Radio this weekend. We got the whole series of Pirates-Cubs, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, including Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN. We got college football tomorrow. We got Texas A&M against Arkansas.
Oh, boy. Another coach going to jump all over Brett Bielema, huh? If they beat Arkansas.
That game's tomorrow, 6 Eastern on ESPN Radio. And then our NFL game Sunday is Eagles-Jets. Coverage starts noon Eastern on ESPN Radio. Forward Thinking brought to you by Mahindra USA. All right, Famer, former fan. Let me get a little more music here.
The Famer, the Former, and the Fan.
Let's move on to our next game here, looking ahead to the weekend schedule.
Saints at Panthers.
Panthers have won the division each of the last 2 years. Saints have not won the division since 2011. Do we believe the New Orleans championship window is closed? Yes or no, Golic?
I think it is. I think with this injury, now certainly a lot depends on Breeze if he's healthy or not, but even that seems the big playability has gone away with that team a bit. And defensively, I mean, they're just not getting it done. They're just giving up way too many big plays. And as I've always said, anybody would want to play in a Ryan defense. This is Rob Ryan, whether it's Rob or Rex's. And I played for Buddy. You love the aggressiveness of a defense, but you can be susceptible to big plays, and that's what's happening right now. That's going to be a tough fix. They're in cap hell. There's no doubt about that between this year and then the dead money and next year as well. So I think they're in a lot of trouble.
And let's not forget, they did win a Super Bowl.
Yes,
so
they
there are
did.
people that the window closes on them and they don't win one. They did win one with Drew Brees.
Exactly right.
His coming to New Orleans has paid off. I think the window's closed, but I'm really shocked by Carolina. I thought that they would be struggled without Kelvin Benjamin, struggle even be a 500 team.
And the meaning to that team winning a Super Bowl in that city could be as great as we've ever seen for what went on in that
besides LeBron in Cleveland.
Yeah.
With Katrina and everything, and that subplot
was
there
great.
is huge.
The other thing you just referenced quickly on Carolina, let's lose the music for a quick second and get a little more into that. I have been a huge Cam Newton fan going back to his days in college. And I think that this is just my opinion. You just mentioned we thought they'd really struggle. And I picked them to win the division for one reason only. I think Cam Newton is the most hyper-criticized player in the league who's done nothing but win since he got there. He took over a bad team. They had the number one pick in the draft. He wins games. He doesn't do it the same way that most of the other quarterbacks do. But when we talk about guys who can't do it running around, well, he does. And it works. And, yeah, he got a little banged up last year, but he played through it and won games, and he still does it. I think that sometimes Cam Newton gets a little bit of a short shrift from a lot of the analysis out there.
Let me
Am I
ask you a
wrong?
question. Was he the number one pick in the draft?
Yeah.
Is he in the upper echelon of quarterbacks? No.
How are you defining that?
He's not in the upper echelon of quarterbacks. That's how I'm defining it.
Top 10.
When I'm thinking of the upper echelon of quarterbacks, he's not there to me at this point. And whether you want to say it's unfair because of expectations, okay.
Who's better, Cam Newton or Russell Wilson?
Who's
better?
Well, Russell. See,
they're both a little unconventional.
This is always
Who's better?
difficult because Russell Wilson has a much better team.
That's my point.
I'll take Cam. I mean, if you're telling me I got one pick, I got Russell or I pick Cam, I'm taking Cam.
Okay, but you know, all we ever hear, and deservedly so, are the bouquets thrown in the direction of Russell Wilson. You never hear that with Cam. He's on a bad team. He took over a bad team. They went from the first pick in the draft to 12-4 in 2 years.
First of all, it has a lot to do with perception. Number one, there's a great deal of criticism with being the first in the draft. But also with Cam Newton, you can't forget what happened to him in college. And I think that has carried over to the pros.
Agreed.
Also, when he was a rookie and second year, he showed some immaturity as a quarterback that you wouldn't want from your franchise quarterback. So I think that there's a lot more haters out there for Cam compared to Russell and his image and how he came into the league with little to no expectations, being a third-round pick and the surrounding cast being on the best defensive team with a running game. So Cam Newton, if he was on Seattle, woo.
Yeah, I agree with that.
That's what. So I actually think you're not disagreeing with me. Just to be clear, the perception of him is different, and some of that is him, the Superman thing and everything. And people don't like that. I get it. But he's a good player. He's an effective player.
No, he's a great player.
I didn't say he wasn't.
Well, I feel like people think he isn't. And I feel like he gets criticized all the time. Everyone always talks about what he doesn't do.
This is the thing, Greenie. We can't represent everyone.
No, I get it. So maybe I'm not even referring to the two of you in particular, but you know what I'm talking about. He gets criticized everywhere.
When he said he was the number one pick in the draft, you can't disregard that, Greenie.
Right. Yeah.
So there's a great deal of scrutiny that comes with that. But Cam Newton is a great player.
All right, crank up the music again. Let's get to our next game. The Famer, the Former, the Fan. Eagles.
Eagles at Jets.
All right, I love this question from Stan Zick. This is a very Greenie-esque question. If you had to bet your life savings on one of the following scenarios, which would you choose? The 0-2 Eagles make the playoffs or the 2-0 Jets make the playoffs?
You want me to go?
Whoever goes first.
I'll go. Jets. To me, I give me a great defense and an offense that is good, can be pretty good, and not turn the ball over. Eagles, defensively, they're getting injuries. Kiko Alonso may be done. They have other injuries going on as well on a defense that's not a great defense anyway. And offensively, they can't get untracked at this point. The game planning and play calling may change because you watch enough film on any team, you can kind of get what they're doing. But the Eagles seem to be a little easier than others to get film on and watch and see what's going on, and they don't have the talent level to just flat out execute you at this point. So I have more questions there. I love a great defense. They're always going to keep you in the game, so I'll go Jets.
CC.
The Eagles cut me, so I'm betting none of my money on them. I put my $20 on the Powerball before I put it on the Eagles. So I'm going with the Jets, and I just believe Todd Bowles, this team he inherited, is a lot like Rex Ryan's first couple years, but with some offensive help. Now, the question is Fitzy. Now, does he play real smart, or does he play like he went to some community college?
As opposed to Harvard. Yeah. No, that's a really well-taken point. The only argument against it is you just look at it. The Jets' route is exclusively wild card, right? They're not winning the division. They play in the same division with New England, whereas the Eagles are in a division. The Jets are in a division where someone's going to win 12 games. The Eagles are not, most likely.
To me, the Jets are the only team in the AFC that match up with New England. Now, whoever wins that division, I'm talking about match up. Now, they can match up with them the best.
And not going to lie, I thought Buffalo would match up a little better from the defensive side of the ball.
The corners.
It's exactly where I was going. You can get pressure, but the difference, they don't have the corners the Jets do.
All right, let's do one more game here.
Bears at Seahawks.
That's, by the way, a lot of people's eliminator pick this week, those few who are still left in it. Yeah. Who has more left in the tank, gentlemen? They're both 29 years old. Matt Forte or Marshawn Lynch?
I'm going to say Matt Forte. Matt Forte is more versatile, catches more balls out of the backfield, and Marshawn Lynch's style just begs to be hit. Now, I'm going to say he delivers the blow an awful lot, but you're still getting hits when you do that. He takes more hits, I think, than Matt Forte, so I'll say Forte.
CC.
I don't like football players to talk about retirement or to talk about quitting, because once you start talking about it, it's hard to do the work that you need to do, and it's in the back of your mind. You're thinking about it. So I don't like it. I go with Forte.
I like the answers. Mike and Mike, we're brought to you in part by Grasshopper. Turn the world into your office with Grasshopper, the entrepreneur's phone system. Get a local or toll-free number or bring your own. You can even have your voicemails transcribed and emailed to you. See how it works at grasshopper.com, the entrepreneur's phone system. This was a great day. CC, thank you so much. Always a pleasure. Golic, have a great weekend. Everybody have a great weekend. Tons of great football to watch.
We'll see you in Green Bay.
That's right. We will be at Lambeau Field Monday morning to get you set for Packers, Chiefs, and a whole lot more. Have a great weekend. See you Monday. Mike and Mike.
ESPN Radio.
Football's back, and it already feels like the playoffs thanks to 1 Week Fantasy at DraftKings.com. With millions of dollars in prizes being paid out each week, every play in every game could take you closer to a life-changing payday. Hurry to DraftKings.com now. Use promo code REPLAY and play for free with your first deposit in this Sunday's $1 million fantasy contest. This isn't fantasy as usual. This is DraftKings. Welcome to the big time. Enter REPLAY for free entry now only at DraftKings.com. That's DraftKings.com.
And now, for Geico's edition of Stuff Found in Your Car, we go inside your side door pocket.
Hello, yes, the crumpled receipt with gum in it. From your anniversary dinner, you sprang for expensive wine, your server was Beth. That dinner was a couple $100. Money you could get back if you switched to Geico and saved hundreds of dollars on your car insurance. I bet you'd save that receipt, frame it even. But really, where did I go wrong? Was it the corkage fee?
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit geico.com today.
The Pirates and Cardinals have the best 2 records in baseball, and they go head-to-head one final time this regular season. Could this be a preview of next week's division series? Coverage begins Wednesday at 6:30 Eastern on ESPN Radio.